40 minutes.
Welcome all to the Tortillas and Takes podcast. You are on once again with your boy, I'll be sure. And we were about to just talk about sitcoms for the next 40 minutes, but there is a very important football game coming to Manhattan, Kansas. All right. A very important football team coming to Manhattan, Kansas. And on Halloween weekend is about to get real spooky. So to talk about the spookiness that is Halloween, it is the guy that refuses to dress up on this holiday weekend. That is the people's champ, Jeremy Gill. What's up, Jeremy?
What's up, Albie? I could not decide on a costume this year. I will be handing out candy. I will be up front. I did jack-o'-lanterns. I got the dogs dressed up. So I have no idea. I think what we're going to actually do this year, we have friends coming over. We're going to make like little cards with numbers on it. You ever watch Dancing with the Stars? And we're just going to rate kids' costumes all night.
So let me get this straight. I just want to repeat what you're saying here. You're going to so you're wearing a hoodie right now. So you're going to be dressed in a hoodie.
It's 30 degrees outside. You're
passing out candy to children with jacked lanterns and rating children.
What do you want from me?
What is the FBI director's name again? Cash Patel?
This is a safe neighborhood hour.
Not anymore.
This is a safe neighborhood.
Not
hour.
anymore.
You know what that
means. I would contact Cash Patel, but he doesn't protect children from predators.
Not untrue.
JK, kind of, not really. Jeremy, big game this week in Manhattan. Texas Tech, 6.5-point favorites, which is the smallest spread we've had all year. And by like a mile, right? The smallest spread we've had all year. Tech fans are terrified, and with reason. Texas Tech has not won a game in Manhattan since 2008. Jeremy, you were in high school. I was. You were in high school. I was prepping, right? I had my Lubbock bags packed, right? I had like a few hairs on my chin at the time, right? Thought I was doing big things. I was 18 with whiskers on my chin, right? That's how long ago it was. This was we definitely didn't know each other at the time, right? You were being an all-state football and track athlete. I had finished my high school football career and was told you are way too slow. They were like, you are way too slow to play Division I football. Okay, you sir. What are you? You want to play linebacker? You are 190 pounds. What? Get out of my face. That's what I was. I'm sure that's what everybody was thinking. So that's how long ago it was. Everybody. Let me tell you something. You know something, Jeremy? You know what's funny about this? The kids, the freshmen, right now, that are at Kansas State were goo gagaing the last time Texas Tech won a game in Manhattan. They were, still spitting up on themselves at the last time. That was 17 years ago. So we have legit reason to be concerned about this game. And not only I'm talking about just winning in Manhattan. What about just winning, period?
That's right.
Texas Tech against Kansas State has not gone well. K-State has won 8 straight games against the Red Raiders. And you might think, okay, well, before those 8 straight, before 2016, I mean, I'm sure Tech was in it, right? No, we weren't, because we've also lost 12 of our last 13. Jeremy, why should this game be any different?
It's not. It's not, and I think because principally you've had so many different kinds of Texas Tech teams over the course of the past 2 decades, essentially. And each one has failed to come away with a victory, especially on the road in Manhattan. I think because of mistakes, silly coaching mistakes, execution, like lack of execution. And while this is definitely the most talented team you have fielded since the last time you won in Manhattan, Certainly still, there's a lot of things that are mounting for us with injury. There's a lot of concern at quarterback. There's still going to be questions of ability to coach on the road against good teams until McGuire breaks that, right? We had a chance against Arizona State and we came up short. So if you're looking past, and I understand why the line is what it is, because Texas Tech on paper, on resume, has a better team, top to bottom. And I think that there's not many odds makers out there that are saying Texas Tech's going to lose. But if you look past all that and you look at like the condition and context of this game, Texas Tech is in a serious opportunity for upset, because a lot of people right now are looking ahead to like, we got a tizzy of a tease with Reese Davis saying things about tortillas in a couple weeks. So people are already starting to go, oh, wow, I think game day is going to go to Lubbock. And that'll be the first time since 2008. So, wow, a big game. We're going to show up. Wow, BYU. Wow, all this stuff. And it's like, okay, awesome. But we have got to get past the biggest ghost on our back that we've had for the entirety of ever, it feels like, in Kansas State. And like, this is exactly what Kansas State wants, for us to come in to Manhattan. We're the 7-1 team playing a lowly 4-4, and it should just go all our way. But the reality is that Kansas State is, and I hate this term, but one of the hottest teams in college football right now in terms of like winning convincingly after starting absolute dog water, that you cannot count out Kansas State just because they have a 4-win, 4-loss. Like their record right now is not reflecting the team that they're putting on the field.
Wow, hottest team in the country, 2 wins, and you're like, gotta watch out for that. Those bad boys.
I have seen it on 4 or 5 articles at this point. It's, I hate the term. I think that they're hot until they're not, right? What if they get out blown out by 30 points this weekend? Then nobody's gonna be writing that anymore. So I hate that kind of terminology.
I will say for Kansas State, all right, so K-State has had 4 real home games. Obviously, the game against Iowa State doesn't count as a home game. It was in a different continent. But they've had 4 real home games, and they've won 3 of them. Like, I think that's one thing that's being not really discussed. It's going to be a home game for K-State. They've won 3 of their 4. The only game they've lost is to Army, so you can say, they lost to Army. But this is also an Army team that came off of a really great season last year, and the triple option is
tough.
Yeah, and then the scoff at. So, but since then, they have won back-to-back home games. They have won, that includes beating UCF. Now, they'll beat UCF by 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's nothing crazy, but a nice win against a good TCU team. And like you mentioned, they just probably played the best game they've played all season just last week against Kansas. So it does seem like, that might be considered a home game too, depending on who you ask. But it does seem like they're starting to really figure it out, right? It does seem like we are catching Kansas State at the worst time. And the same fears that I had at the beginning of the season, I had this game circled. This is the game I said, if we're going to lose a game, actually, I'm pretty sure I did say this is the game we would lose. I thought we would, this was the game I circled as the most likely for us to lose. Now, watching this team lose to Iowa State, lose to Army, lose to Arizona, I gained some confidence back up in the fact that Texas Tech can beat this team. And I still can. It's not the question. There's no question Texas Tech can beat this team. The question is will they? And my fears after watching K-State against Kansas come back up of, man, this is still a good team. It's actually not even a fear. I mean, even when they lost to Baylor, I'm like, this still looks like a good team that just has to figure some stuff out. And to your point, they're starting to figure some stuff out. Avery Johnson is starting to figure some stuff out. But Jeremy, I will say this about Avery Johnson. He is starting to figure some stuff out. But one of the things that makes this Texas Tech team different, what have you always been scared of as long as I've known you?
The mobile quarterback.
And what is this team best at defending?
The run, just in general.
The run and the mobile quarterback. Devin Dampier has looked great in every single game he's played except for this one. We played nothing more. Jalen Daniels has looked decent in he didn't look great last week, but he looked decent in a lot of the games he's played. And with the exception of that second quarter against Tech, looked awful, right? Mm-hmm. This team has actually done a great job against the mobile quarterback. And so Going up against a quarterback that, let's face it, he had a really good last couple weeks, but Avery Johnson has not looked good this year, right? So you're going up against a quarterback that has struggled, and that quarterback is going up against a defense that has basically every quarterback they've played has played the worst game of the season against this defense. A lot of accounts and a lot of stats and a lot of metrics have Texas Tech defense not as one of the best defenses in the country. The Texas Tech defense is the best defense in the country. A lot of metrics, which, quick aside, insane.
Absolutely asinine. Insane. And you remain the first quarter juggernaut. You've only had 3 points scored on you in the first quarter. No other team can say that.
Yeah. And so you gotta. So some of the things when I look at this game and I say, well, man, I'm worried. I'm scared about what K-State can do. I'm scared about what Avery Johnson can do. Because even I will say this, Avery Johnson, the guy that's supposed to be the turnover machine, hasn't actually turned the ball over that much recently. And so, I think things that I'm worried about, but a lot of the things that K-State does well play into this defensive strengths, right? I was on a pod with the Bosco boys, Scott Wildcat, right? And we talked about it. The things that K-State, the things that have hurt this team at times are Arizona State was able to hurt us because quick throws, attacking Jordan Tyson, not letting the D-line really get active, right? If we remember that game, Sam Levitt wasn't this mobile running quarterback going all over the place. It was quick strikes. You know who doesn't do quick strikes? Avery Johnson. He does not do quick strikes. This offense does not have a Jordan Tyson on their team, right? And so the things that Arizona State was able to do to mitigate this team, K-State doesn't operate the same way. Even Oklahoma State last week weren't able to do it either because they also don't have the tools necessary to be able to do so. So defense really just had a field day, right? And so it does give me, it does remind me that this team is different than the 8 Texas Tech teams that have lost to this team in a row.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot, and we'll talk a little bit more in depth when we go offense and defense. But I think that, Kansas State being the hottest team in the country, again, I'm quoting, I am not putting that on them. It's got
you heard it here first, people.
It's
Jeremy Gillen. Kansas State is the best team in the country.
Hottest team.
Best. That's what you said.
Did I say best? No. Best 4-4 team in the country.
That was not too bad.
Yeah, that's not too bad. They've gotten veiled praise, I think, behind 3 games that really shouldn't be. If you even step back to UCF, first of all, don't ever schedule service schools. I've said that from day one, because when you lose, it's even worse, right? The victory against UCF felt like a big win for Kansas State, of course, winning at home, getting back on track. But then you go out and you lose at Baylor by 1 point. A Baylor team that is destructively bad in such a way that it's like, hey, this is Dave Aranda's last season. I think everybody's coming to terms with that.
You think so?
I would put money on it at this point. But I mean, we've seen through different, commentary and critique and lens that Dave Aranda is on a very firm hot seat for Baylor. Like, they're just very disappointed with the trajectory of this program. And once they figure out he graduated from Texas Tech, it's all going to be over. So
once they find that out,
once they figure it out,
wait a minute, his transcript. This
is forged.
Hold the hell on.
Peel off a sticker. It says Texas Tech underneath.
Would you accept Dave Aranda as the defensive coordinator if Shilwood was to leave?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. I think we've had
curious.
Conversations about that. Very defensive minded.
Yeah.
With the resources that this team has, I don't think that Dave Aranda could do wrong. Now I'd be so sad if Shilwood left. But okay, so 1 point loss at Baylor. We have got to get back on track, guys. Back at home, TCU. You play that game, and not a terrible game by any metric. I think Kansas State just plays a really good brand of football. TCU having a really tough go of it, just all across the board for them. Like, and able to stop, Avery Johnson's throwing. But TCU not notorious to have this year a good passing defense, right? So then you get to they win that 41-28, and everybody's like, hey man, Kansas State's kind of back on track here. And then you have the Sunflower Showdown, and like that is like the game that both Kansas and Kansas State get up for, no matter what the season is, no matter who's doing well or not. And we've kind of talked about this before, that those rivalry games just enter, like the Red River rivalry. It seems like whoever's having the worst season wins the Red River rivalry. It feels like that every time, right? So it's like, who is getting up for this game? Kansas is coming in thinking this is our season to win it. We were all saying like, hey, if you're going to do it, it's going to be this season. You're the better team. All in all, it's got to be this season. Well, then Kansas State says, bet 42-17 victory.
Kansas stinks.
But if
Jeremy, did you know that K-State has beaten Kansas 17 times in a row? Lord Jesus.
I thought we had it bad. But yeah, sorry, Jayhawk fans.
Oh my God.
Go back to basketball.
That's your rival? That's your main rival?
They picked him first. They're like, yeah, let's this will be a good one to have.
Oh my God. Sorry.
The point being for this is that Kansas State has had some get back on track victories, but if you look at the table, like, this is not against tremendous teams. They've done things well against teams that they suffer at. Played well. They played a really clean game against TCU, who is turnover prone, who has had a really rough season this season. They played a passing game really well against a Kansas team that, it seems like, outside of our game, struggles against the pass. So it's like Kansas State has not done anything extraordinary. They've won the games that they needed to win against teams that were worse than them. Because this is still, just because they had a rocky start at the beginning, really didn't illustrate what this Kansas State team is capable of. And I think they really started to mitigate Avery Johnson, like, hey, you don't need to do it all yourself. You need to rely on the game plan that we have. Yeah. And that's part of the reason that he hasn't run so much this season. It's because, like, hey, we got a decent offensive line. Like, we got a decent defense, like a decent wide receiver core, got a decent running back. Like, let's just play a simple game plan. And it's starting to pay dividends for them.
So let's talk about that decent running back core and that decent wide receiver group. Who does fear you on the K-State side?
Outside of Avery Johnson, just typically.
Does Avery Johnson fear you? Does he scare you?
I think I will not. After 5 touchdowns against us last time, I will not be not afraid. Right? It's like I need to see the regression in real time for me to get over that.
At the same time, Jeremy, like, there's literally not a single person on this defense that was there 2 years ago.
That is exactly right. I wanted to wait to kind of drop that bomb.
Jacob Rodriguez is, I think, the only one.
And he's a Heisman candidate, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But, point being, I think Kansas State right now is wide receiver by committee, and you got to talk with Scott about that probably. So it's like you got Jace Brown, Jared Tibbs, Garrett Oakley, a familiar name in Jaron Bradley, though he is echoes of the Jaron Bradley that came through Texas Tech. Like I said, right now the Kansas State passing game is more about what's the simple route running we can do and who's going to be open. So it's vintage Texas Tech in a way without, like, vintage Texas Tech skill players, if that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
So no one scares me, but in this kind of game, it's always going to be who is going to have a career day against Texas Tech. One of those things for me, it's like, who is going to be the guy who's open? And I would bet money at this point it's going to be Garrett Oakley in the middle. Because the thing that's been cutting us up this season on the passing side of things, when teams are really keyed in, some guy kind of in the middle, in that middle area where the linebackers are floating around trying to, especially with Avery Johnson being a mobile quarterback, you're going to see guys like John Curry, Jacob Rodriguez moving a little left to right, trying to make sure that they're covering any running lanes while staying in a semi-formed zone. And, I mean, Garrett Oakley just has to find a little bit of open space, and then there's an easy 5-7 yard pickup. It's the exact thing that killed us against Arizona State. Now, I don't think Avery Johnson is near the passer and player that Jordan Levitt has proven to be this season, but anybody worth their salt needs to be able to hit an open receiver if he's sitting in the middle of the field.
So, very good point. I did want to bring up the game last time we played this team, which was October 14, 2023. Jacob Rodriguez, Ben Roberts, and Bryce Ramirez all did play in that game. So those are really the only 3 players on defense that played in that game. that that was around at that time. And actually, I don't know if Bryce Ramirez. I don't know if that was before or after the Bryce Ramirez injury, so he may not have actually played. Ben Roberts did have 11 tackles. That's when he was on a 100 tackle season tear as a freshman, which was incredible. If you remember in this game, we actually ended up getting Baron Morton actually did play and start at the beginning of this game, but got hurt. That was the game Jake Strong had to come in. And if you remember, Jake Strong came in, and our never questioned offensive coordinator that we all love so much decided this is the opportunity to have him throw like crazy. So Jake Strong came in and threw the ball 28 times. As a true freshman, and threw 3 interceptions. So that's what happened in the last game, right? Avery Johnson did have 5 touchdowns in this game defensively, but then also it didn't help out a lot of the drives in this one were short drives because of interceptions. Great game played by guys like Kobe Savage. I was on the team at the time. He had 2 interceptions himself, Austin Moore, Jacob Parrish. But again, those guys ain't here no more. So I think the main thing is that you got Jacob Rodriguez and Ben Roberts on one side. You got Avery Johnson on the other side. Those guys are still here. Coy Eakin's still here. Nobody else is on both sides. Like it's a very completely transformative team. So I think a lot of the concern is valid, but I do look at it and say, yeah, but right. So look at some of the guys they also have. Joe Jackson is their leading rusher. Right now, Joe Jackson having an okay season, right? Averaging 4 yards a carry, 382 yards. Was also one of their big was a backup running back last year, and behind Giddens, and now is starting to get some more burn there. Also, they have Jace Brown. Jace right now splitting some of those carries as well. Overall, Jace Brown, I will say, though I said splitting carries. He's their primary receiver. Jace Brown is. Really kind of doing, and those are Jackson and Brown. I think are some of the main guys you're going to see on that. Getting a lot of those, getting the ball quite a bit. That's where Avery Johnson can try to get the ball out to. Another one really being that Jerron Tibbs, right? So Jerron Tibbs is a guy that has also been here for a couple of years. I think Tibbs is one that you saw, especially in the UCF game. He had 8 catches alone. In that game, the Baylor game, he had 6 catches alone. So I think it's one of those things where whenever he gets going, he becomes a big piece and a big feature for them. And then also, this wouldn't be K-State without featuring a big, burly, 250-pound, huge tight end in Garrett Oakley. Some of your favorites. Garrett Oakley, again, another guy that was here last year, already has 25 catches on the year and 4 touchdowns. So especially as a red zone threat, got to watch out for him overall. So those are some of the guys you got to see. To your point, Avery Johnson hasn't run the ball as much as we expect, but when it comes to the red zone, I think we talked about Garrett Oakley. We talked about, Avery Johnson has 5 touchdowns on the year. He actually leads the team in non-passing touchdowns, right? So that's rushing and receiving. He leads the team. He has 5 touchdowns just on the ground, right? And so I think that is something to watch out for, especially in the red zone, especially with those RPOs. But again, this is a defense that has done pretty well in those aspects. So Jeremy, I asked you defensively, and I'm going to skip the line a little bit, who needs to be the star on defense to mitigate this RPO attack, this passing attack to Brown, Tibbs, and Oakley? Like, who you – and also, I say Brown, Tibbs, and Oakley. I did forget one guy. Jerand Bradley is on this Kansas State team. You may forget Jerand Bradley also played this game 2 years ago, but he was wearing red and black instead. He is on this team, but he is their 4th leading receiver. He only has 12 catches on the year. So anyways.
Yeah. Not nearly targeted as much. That's why I said it kind of echoes of the Jerand Bradley that we remember before he went to Boston College and then made it to Kansas State. Thanks, Matt Wells, I guess. So defensively, for me, it's tempting to say like Jacob Rodriguez, obviously. But I think for me, it's got to start on the line. I think that, David Bailey's just got to get home. I think that with being the best pass rusher that we have, I think David Bailey's got to make Avery Johnson's life a nightmare in the backfield. I think that it's just important to because without Avery Johnson running so much, like he's been trained this whole season, hey, dial it back, go through your reads. You got a good offensive line, but they've not faced a pass rush like Texas Tech. And so what happens whenever Avery Johnson is trying to stick to the game plan and David Bailey's in his face, Romello Heights in his face, right? I think that provides a lot more ability to, hey, Avery, just get out there and run. Get out, survive, right? But if surviving and he's running out and then Jacob Rodriguez is out in the flat, or Cole Wisniewski comes down like he's done a few times this year and, breaks on a scramble, it's David Bailey for me. I think has to have a really good game this game and just show up and be the player that we know that he is.
So you're like, man, I don't want to do Jacob Rodriguez because that's too obvious. Instead of the arguably the top linebacker in the country, I'm going to say one of the best defensive ends in the country. Yeah, that would do it.
Yeah, and if I said Romello Height, you would have said the same thing. You said,
probably
the players in the game. All right.
Yeah, probably. We have other defensive players.
Fucking Jordan.
You know what I mean? We have other defensive players. Thank you very much. All right. So I'm gonna say a guy. I think I've said him before as my person. I think it's John Curry. So John Curry, and the reason I'm gonna say this is because of that RPO action, right? John Curry's gonna have as a weak side linebacker, or that Raider position, he's gonna have to really fly all over the place to really handle Avery Johnson. A couple of years ago when Avery Johnson had those 5 touchdowns, because and I can't remember who exactly was at the position, but honestly, I remember. I just don't want to put him on blast. But the person who was in the Raider position didn't have a good game. He was slipping and sliding all over the place, was falling behind Avery Johnson, was really out of position a lot. And so I think John Curry I expect to see that spy a little bit more, right? With John Curry using his speed and saying, hey, Avery, you ain't getting out. You ain't getting out too much, right? So I definitely expect that John Curry's the guy that I think needs to have a good game. And then also Cole Wisniewski. Cole Wisniewski just had the last 2 games had really good games.
Yeah.
Right. And so I also expect Cole Wisniewski to lay the hammer a little bit. And prediction. All right. I'm gonna make a prediction. Not a prediction. It's hard. It's kind of hard to always predict this, but I'm gonna say Cole Wisniewski gets a turnover in this game.
Okay.
Either by fumble, by interception. I don't know how exactly. He's gonna get a turnover in this game.
Yeah,
that's my prediction that I'm gonna have here. And it's a big one. Avery Johnson only has had I think 3 on the year, so that's it. But I predict that Cole Wisniewski gets one. So I think
Texas Tech is one of the better teams in the nation for causing chaos.
That's true.
And that does start with the pass rush, right? And then, creating a situation where you're just trying to survive, don't have good control of the ball, or you try to force something. We've done that a lot this season, so I can see it.
Yeah, that's true. I will say, so one of the things you mentioned was the fact that they haven't really faced a rush defense like this, or a pass defense like this. And I will say that you are correct, right? They haven't really. I mean, the best pass defense that they've actually faced, funny enough, is UCF. Now, I would argue that UCF's pass numbers are a little reduced because of the style that they play. So they slow the game down, so their pass numbers aren't. And also, their rush defense kind of isn't good. So they're slow, and the rush defense is good to wide pass on them. But they have for the most part avoided it. The only other pass defense that I would say and would categorize as good that they've played is Arizona, which they lost to. Yeah. Right. And so that's a really good call out. I will say though, TCU has a really good run defense, and TCU's run defense they were able to mitigate that quite a bit. K-State was. TCU right now has the 3rd best run defense in the conference. Now, obviously, though TCU has the 3rd best run defense in the conference, they still give up almost double the amount of rushing yards per game as Texas Tech does. So this is where rubber meets the road, right? Can Kansas State make something happen against a defense that has just done an incredible job of mitigating rushing, right? Arizona State did not beat us on the ground. So how are you going to be able to do that, Kansas State? It's going to be a rough one in that aspect. Just point blank period. So as we flip to the other side of the ball, talk to me about the K-State defense. What do you expect there?
K-State's kind of middling in the Big 12 in terms of just production and defense. Like again, by metrics, they're pretty much right in the middle of the pack. What their defense has done a few times, especially in the last few games, is get home to the quarterback. They've had a lot of sacks recently, and that's kind of presented them with an opportunity to take control of games in bigger moments. So, looking at guys like Toby O, I'm not going to even go for the name because you just make fun of me. Kobe Stufflebean, which is a hilarious name to back that up with. But even like doing some kind of blitz packages with Desmond Purnell out at linebacking, Kansas State just had a little bit more effective of a comprehensive. They play a very complementary style of defense as well, like Texas Tech likes to play. So if they have a guy going, they try to fill that gap. The thing for the difference between Texas Tech and Kansas State, though, is just the sheer talent level from top to bottom. Like Kansas State's got the thing that has beaten us in the past. Kansas State's got it in terms of foundational defense. Like, hey, we know our jobs and we're going to play it as well as we can. And they've done a better job of that recently. But they've also, when they're playing from behind or when they get into tough scenarios, their defense has not been impervious. Like, this defense has given up some chunk yardage based on, from missed assignments, from, trying to get home, but they blitz the wrong way. There's just so many, miscues that have led towards, people carving up the Kansas State defense as well. So they're kind of a, foundational until they're not. So it's a good defense. And there are a lot of people you got to keep an eye on, especially in that middle corridor, Austin Romaine, Desmond Purnell, and along the line, and Toby and Cody. But it's not impervious. So, but like Texas Tech has to, for the Texas Tech, like the offensive line is going to have to play their best game that they played in a couple of games.
So I want to give a shout out to Joe Klanderman. So Joe Klanderman is the defensive coordinator for Kansas State. Excuse me. He's the defensive coordinator the defensive coordinator for Kansas State. And the reason I want to give him a shout out is because in a world of NIL, in a world of transfer portals, he has not needed it. His players stay. I mean, I was talking about offensively how a lot of those guys weren't here a couple of years ago. That is not the case for the defense. All these guys were here a couple of years ago. All these guys have stayed. Romaine, Purnell, Payne, Rick, not Rich, but Fair, McIntosh. Like all these guys were. And it was funny because when I was looking over this, I was like, how many of these guys were here 2 years ago when they had those 3 interceptions? A lot of them. a lot of them were here, right? A lot of these guys have been here, and now they've been trained under Klanderman, trained under the K-State way, and they just know how to get it done. And so you're right in that this defense is a little bit more middle of the road, but Romaine and Purnell especially still worry me, just like they did too. Just like Purnell felt like he's been there for 30 years. But just like Purnell did 2 years ago, he still worries me a little bit, and still somebody you're going to have to watch out for. Now, I will say, name of the game, I think, for Texas Tech is that we got Morton back. Yeah. And I'm glad that now we had to go through this scenario of we had to go through Morton being hurt for the fan base to appreciate him, right? Like now I think we're all done with this whole Baron Morton. Like now we can all appreciate him. For the last year and a half, y'all been dogging the guy, and now we can appreciate who he is. Now I will say the only criticism that Morton has now, which is valid, is that the guy stays hurt. Right? The guy does stay hurt. There's really no way around that. But I will say, if we forget, he did play every game last year. And I believe that, honestly, if we did not have Will Hammond, he would have probably played the last 2 games as well, right? Yeah. So the guy plays hurt. Now, he doesn't always – he is willing to play through injury. I do think, though, is that a lot is being made, I think, on the K-State side of, he'll still be hurt. Will be able to get after him. Actually, from all accounts, again, he definitely could have played last week. He might have even been able to play the week before. And I really think it is. So I think he's a lot healthier in going into this game than a lot of people are going to give him credit for. And so but I expect, he's been practicing all week. I expect Morton to have a game, right? A game, an ability to really go out there and play. Mac, just let's not call it QB runs, please.
Buddy, I am praying.
Let's not call QB runs.
Have an ounce of awareness.
Yeah, let BMO go crazy. Let Morton go crazy a little bit, and I expect him to do well in this game. I really do, and get us back on track a little bit, especially in this bang it out, fight it out game. One thing I've always loved about Morton does not make mistakes. He takes care of that football. And in a game where it may come down to that, that's what I expect from Baron Morton against this defense. So, other than Baron Morton, top tier analyst, Who else do you see on offense needs to step up?
Cam Dickey. I think that we need to really lean into the run game. Like you said, I know Leftwich is going to want to call some QB draw, QB run, but like, first of all, have some awareness, please, God. Two, I mean, we grilled him last time that he was overutilizing Hammond in the Arizona State game. Like, hey, you've got two really good running backs. You got to use them. And we got back to him more in the Oklahoma State game, but that doesn't really count to me. So, like in a game like this where there is a lot on the line, win and lose, like I want you to lean in. Like Kansas State wants to kind of control the clock. That's what they like to do. It's what's gotten us trouble in many games throughout the past 2 decades. Get back to like having some control over the clock as well, right? Have some control over the time, because if you can, from the get-go, if you can establish the run, and it's going to take a little bit of, poking and prodding through a pretty good Kansas State defensive line. But like if you can establish that run, that's going to only make Morton more comfortable to make throws. Because if it's not all on Morton's shoulders, which is going to be 90% because he's that dude. But if he has the reliance of, remember when we had Brooks? Like Tosh Brooks made Morton's life so much easier because it was like, man, if I couldn't get that first pass play or the second down pass play, we really trusted Brooks, and Brooks made it happen. So like, give Cam Dickey, give Jacoby Williams, like give them that same level of trust and see what happens. Like allow them to play their game.
So I'm actually going to kind of mimic you. I got with Jacoby Williams for similar reasons, but also as that safety valve, because this K-State defense and secondary is decent. I'm not going to devalue them; they're decent. But where Jacoby Williams has been at his best is when Baron Morton scanning, dump off.
Yeah,
and Jacoby's say less.
yeah,
60 yards to the house. And so I think Jacoby, not just as a runner, but just as that safety valve out of the backfield, has been incredible. Also, another underrated piece. And so I guess, he wasn't necessarily my player list, but I'm going to do a thing. Terrence Carter's back.
That's right. That's huge.
Terrence Carter's back. That is the most unsung thing that anyone's talking about. Terrence Carter is back. He unlocks another level to this offense. And so, and what I'm hoping is that, obviously Matt Wells hates our podcast. He never listens. He stopped listening. So he is not going to listen to this piece, and he's not going to tell Coach Kleiman and Coach Kleiman about the fact that Terrence Carter is back. They're going to forget, and Terrence Carter is going to go crazy. And so that's going to be a big piece as well. So, yeah. So Jeremy, real quick, got to do the Big 12 roundup as far as looking at some of the games for this week. So starting off at noon, the 7-1 Houston Cougars hosting West Virginia. Do the Cougs go to 8-1?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, there's really no question. 13.5 point favorites. West Virginia stinks. I said last week, if Houston wins that game last week, they're going to have a 10-win season, which is going to disgust me. They're going to have a 10-win season, and that's pretty wild. Pretty
good
wild.
News for us.
Also, it is good news for us, but Jeremy, I talked about this in pre-pod. Maybe we need to start taking Houston seriously as a real rival. Maybe we should look at them and say, you know what? I don't care if it benefits us. We want them to stink.
That's right.
Right? I don't know. Think about it. Also, the game that has been pushed to the gulag, aka ESPNU, UCF at Baylor. Baylor 3.5 point favorites. I know nobody cares about this game, but who do you think wins?
I think UCF squeaks out a win here.
Wow, the Knights.
Yeah, they're imploding in a lot of areas, and I think UCF is starting to get a little bit more of a groove in some key spaces.
I will say, I think if Baylor loses this game, that tells me everything I need to know about how the players feel about Dave Aranda.
Ooh,
right? You can't lose this game and think your coach is still going to be here. So for that reason, I actually do think they still like Dave Aranda. I think he still has the players at the very least, and so I think they do win this game against UCF, and I think they actually cover in that one. But yeah, you lose this game, I mean, Aranda may not make it back to the locker room, so you got to win this one. So at noon, Arizona State at Iowa State. Who wins this one, Jeremy? Iowa State's 3.5 point favorites.
I do not want to play Iowa State in the month of November, ever. Give me Iowa State. Also, Arizona State notably missing Jordan Tyson and Jalen Tyson and Jordan Levitt. Like, sorry.
Yeah.
That's your team.
Well, first of all, it's Sam Levitt and Jordan Tyson.
Oh my god, yeah. I got so lost on Jalen Tyson, and then maybe backtrack.
Yeah. That's
how much I care.
Yeah, I absolutely think you're right. I don't. Arizona State is right now the season they thought they were going to have, and it's really injuries, man. You saw how good they can be at home when they played us, but injuries is really hurting them. That is the TNT game, which I wish TNT would get better. It's not a bad game if Arizona State was healthy, but it's just they keep getting bit with a bad game. This is a way for Iowa State to kind of regain their season a little bit. A loss here also kicks Arizona State out of any contention for the conference, and they already. I don't know if we still have them in the lounge, but if we did, this loss will kick them out overall. So, all right, 3:00, Oklahoma State. Will they get a win this year? They're playing Kansas in Lawrence. Kansas 24.5-point favorites. Does Kansas cover? Is really the question.
I think so.
You think Kansas covers?
I think Kansas is disappointed in the way that it went against Kansas State. I think that they'll bounce back in a big way at home for sure.
I don't think they cover. They lost to Houston by 22, and so I think it's gonna be about the same. They lose. They lose about 21, 22. Oklahoma State comes a little bit. Doug Meacham's having fun right now, and he wins by like 3 touchdowns. He loses by 3 touchdowns, and that's a win in their books. Yeah. All right, 6:00. Arizona at Colorado, FS1. Arizona only 3.5-point favorites. Colorado just had the worst loss, I would argue, of Deion Sanders' entire career in a rivalry game against Utah. Woo! That was bad. They bounce back in this one.
Wildcats desperate for a win. They'll pick it up in Boulder. Colorado just does not know what's going on.
Colorado needs this win to go to a bowl. They can't go to a bowl without this win. They probably don't go to a bowl even with this win. But without this loss here condemns them, starts and a guy that went from, hey, could he go to the NFL to how long is he going to stay here? This loss may catapult that. I do think you've been higher on Arizona than most people this year. I think this game, Arizona's gotten unlucky the last 2 weeks. I think they do correct that this week against Colorado, and they win this one. And Boo Birds are coming out a little bit at least for Pat Shermer. Maybe not for Coach Prime, but Pat Shermer, the OC. Also, a big question of why the hell Julian Lewis isn't playing, which I think is fair. I mean, it's not like Salter played abysmal last week against Utah.
Yeah. What's the harm now?
Big game, 9:15, ESPN, 17th ranked Cincinnati at 24th ranked Utah. Utah, 10.5-point favorites. Wow. Who you got?
Disrespectful. This is the game of the weekend. This is the big game. First of all, Cincinnati trying desperately to just continue on their war path of being undefeated in conference and claiming their I mean, they again one fluke play of being away from being probably a top 5 team in the country. I like Cincinnati in this one. I wonder, is Devin Dampier actually playing or not? There's no such thing as a consistent report for Utah injury. If Devin Dampier is playing, it's going to be a great test for Cincinnati's defense. They have not played a quarterback like Dampier. The mobility, the ability to make plays on the run. But I still do trust in the Satterfield defense. I like the Satterfield team defense. Like they've proven to be such an effective model. And Brendan Sorsby is firmly one of the best quarterbacks in the country right now. Like just making plays when he needs to make plays. They've got an elite combination of wide receivers that help him out. They've got a good running game. Like Cincinnati has to be proven wrong before I doubt them. So I think even on the road, even college game day, I think the Bearcats come out with a big win against Utah. Thankfully, knocking Utah out of Big 12 conversation. But just I think this is the game of the weekend for me. I would definitely have eyes on this.
You don't like Texas Tech for real.
Why?
You don't like Texas Tech for real. We need a Utah victory. To bring Cincinnati down a little bit, down to our level, right? They're no longer undefeated in conference. Utah, we've already beaten. They have 2 losses. Come on, man.
I'm not saying that's what I want to happen. I just want to think what I think is going to happen.
So I actually think Utah wins this one. Yeah. I'm still I'm not. It's not that I don't think Cincinnati's a good team. I look at Cincinnati like I look at Houston, in that. Now I do think Cincinnati's a little bit better than Houston, but I look at them the same way in that you've had a really light schedule. Yeah, you're better than we expected you to be, but how good are you really? Utah will be by far the best team they've played this year. And yeah, I think Utah wins this game. I do think Devin Dampier is going to play. Utah's feeling themselves, beat the hell out of Colorado last week.
Yeah.
And I know it's Colorado. I get that. But sometimes the way you win against a bad team still matters. And Utah did that. And so I think Colorado wins. Yeah, I think Utah wins this game. And I don't know. 10.5 is a wild spread. I don't know if they cover, but I do think they win it.
If Utah wins this game, it does completely, you made a good point, reshape the way everybody's looking at Cincinnati's schedule and their victories and stuff like that.
Yep.
If they lose, then Cincinnati stays on the warpath.
Yep. All right. So the real game of the week, I don't know what Jeremy was talking about. The real game of the week, 2:30, Fox. Prime time, baby. Texas Tech 7.5-point favorites in this one, or 6.5-point favorites. Sorry, in this one right now. That line has actually moved more in Tech's favor. I think we started out as 3-point favorites overall. This is a rematch of the first ever Big 12 game. Texas Tech offense defeats K-State's defense in almost every category. As we flip it over to the other side, Texas Tech defense defeats K-State's offense ranking-wise in most categories. Texas Tech seems to be the better team. However, a lot of people have been looking at this game as a trap game. Should we watch out for them? What is your prediction?
Man, this is wildly all over the place. When Tech loses, it's close. When Tech wins, it's big. We beat them in every single metric. They beat us in the past 2 decades of football. It's just the same thing that made me like, I picked Kansas and I looked like a fool whenever I was like, man, Kansas is much better. They can do it. I'm so worried to pick Texas Tech. I am picking Texas Tech right now. I don't think that it's going to be like we win big. I think it's we win and we maybe win by 10. But I think Texas Tech has all of the key that Baron Morton is back, that he's had a couple of weeks to kind of heal up and get going, that he's probably thinking like, this is his thing. Like, this is your season, dog. Like, if you want to get to the college football playoffs, if you want to get to the Big 12 championship, it goes through Kansas State. Like, I know Big 12, like we're all talking about BYU and like, oh, BYU is a big game. If you don't win against Kansas State, pack it up. Like, you're going to need a lot of stuff go your way. So, like, this has to be the do or die game. In that scenario, this season with our coaching staff, I expect Texas Tech to look worlds better than they did against Arizona State. I expect the offense to play a lot more clean from the get-go, and I expect Texas Tech defense to be up and awake. Even though this is early, we got the early game against Kansas State. That does play to our benefit. Same thing that happened against Utah.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll say this. There was a question that Scott had asked me of whether we're viewing this as a trap game, like the team is. At the end of the Oklahoma State game, in the post-game speech, Joey said, and he made it known, we have a tough game coming up, right? And so thank God we played Oklahoma State before this, because I actually think this is not a trap game, because Oklahoma State was the trap game. Oklahoma State was the game where we were like, they were looking ahead, which, I mean, they could have looked ahead. It doesn't matter. And so that, because we had that game, which was basically a bye week, right, to get ready for this game. So I don't think they're looking past this game, because this was the game they were looking to, right? If you've been on this team, if you're Ben Roberts, if you're Baron Morton, if you're Jacob Rodriguez, you know this team, we ain't beating them. So you're focused on this game already. I think they are. I do think it's going to be a close game, though. I got this Tech winning 27-21. I don't think we cover, because I think it's going to be a dogfight. But we pull it out at the end. I think our defense pulls it out at the end, and Baron Morton just doesn't make mistakes. And we move on to the matchup that is what's going to be a top 12 matchup the following week against BYU. Jeremy, anything else you want to say to the people? It doesn't matter what you want to say to the people. Oh, do you have something, bro?
With limited time, Matt Wells, terrible coach for Texas Tech, great human being. He talked this week to the Wichita Eagle. They were asking about, hey, how do you feel about Texas Tech? He said, man, they put in a tremendous investment. He saw it coming. He said, at least I did on the way out. He thinks it's awesome. Stadium awesome. The investment they've done there, the team they've put together, that we've done a really good job. Has no ill will against Lubbock or the people. He said he still has golfing buddies out here, and just really is proud of the way that Baron Morton's kind of elevated himself over the course of, because remember, Baron Morton came in, it was Matt Wells' guy. So, he's really proud of the way that Morton's elevated his game, and hopefully he gets to be proud as Morton puts up 400 yards on their sorry asses.
I do like Matt Wells the person. We make fun of him a lot, but I do like Matt Wells the person. Yeah. So for the people champ, that is Jeremy Gillen. This is your boy, Albie Shore, and you have been listening to the Tortillas and Takes podcast, part of the 1012 network. As always, stay right, people.